No one believed it could happen, not against the mighty F-35. But then, a small jet from a tiny country did the unthinkable. In a real test, it outsmarted the world's most expensive fighter. And it didn't do it with stealth coatings or trillion-dollar budgets. It did it with brains. In the age of fifth-generation dominance, the skies have been ruled by one name, the F-35 Lightning II, a symbol of American air power. A flying supercomputer worth over $80 million per unit. The kind of jet that makes headlines just by existing. But somewhere in Sweden, a country known more for IKEA and ABBA than global air dominance, engineers were quietly building something different. Not bigger, not flashier, just smarter. They called it the Gripen. While the world obsessed over stealth and sensors, Sweden asked a simpler question. What if a fighter could think faster instead of just cost more? The United States poured decades and trillions into the F-35 program. A jet meant to do everything for everyone. Air superiority, strike, reconnaissance, you name it. But with that ambition came complexity. The F-35 became a masterpiece that often couldn't get off the ground on time. Meanwhile, the Swedes built the Gripen E, sleek, light, and brutally efficient. A jet designed not for show, but for survival. Where the F-35 needed massive runways and support crews, the Gripen could take off from a frozen road, refuel in 10 minutes, and get back to the fight. It wasn't about dominance. It was about resilience. When NATO allies and neutral nations began looking for affordable, reliable fighters, everyone knew the shortlist. F-35, Eurofighter, Rafale. Gripen? Nice try, experts said, but that's not in the same league. Critics laughed. They said Sweden was punching way above its weight. They said the Gripen couldn't possibly compete against American stealth. But then came the test. It happened during joint training exercises. Real pilots, real conditions. No fancy editing, no simulation bias, just pure aerial chess. The F-35s, equipped with cutting-edge stealth and sensor fusion, were the predators. The Gripen S were supposed to be the prey. But when the radar screens lit up, something shocking happened. The F-35s, invisible to almost everything, were spotted. The Gripen, using a mix of clever tactics, high-speed networking, and data fusion, managed to track, outmaneuver, and lock on before the F-35 pilots even realized they'd been killed. The debrief stunned everyone in the room. How could a jet one-third the price of an F-35 pull that off? How could a fourth-generation design beat a fifth-generation stealth fighter? The answer was in the software. While others focused on making their jets invisible, Sweden made theirs adaptable. Gripen's brain, its mission system, can be reprogrammed in hours, not years. It can integrate new weapons, new sensors, even third-party tech without begging for US approval or billion-dollar upgrades. And in modern warfare, information is deadlier than invisibility. The Gripen's pilots don't just fly, they command a digital army. Their jet shares live data with other aircraft, ships, and ground units in real time. In a dogfight, that means one Gripen can see what another Gripen sees, instantly. Together, they act like a swarm, a hive mind in the sky. And in that test, it was that swarm intelligence that broke through the F-35's stealth advantage. The irony? While the F-35 needs a small city to operate, the Gripen can run from a supermarket parking lot, literally. It's designed for countries that can't afford to lose their air bases. Sweden built it that way on purpose. They remembered the Cold War, when they knew they could never outnumber or outspend the Soviet Union. So they built a jet that could disappear into forests, refuel from a truck, and take off from a stretch of highway. The real shock came when NATO analysts reviewed the data. They realized that in certain tactical scenarios, especially in mixed environments, the Gripen's information warfare systems made it more effective than stealth itself. It wasn't invisible. It was unpredictable. And unpredictability, in air combat, wins wars. Soon after, the ripples spread across the world. Canada, frustrated with ballooning F-35 costs, started seriously considering the Gripen. Brazil had already chosen it, praising its adaptability. Even Finland, a nation on Russia's doorstep, debated whether the smart fighter from Sweden was a better long-term bet than the mighty American machine. The F-35 still dominated the headlines, but behind closed doors, military planners were whispering. Let's be clear, the F-35 is a phenomenal jet. Its stealth, sensors, and networking are unmatched when everything works perfectly. But in a real war, where runways are bombed, GPS is jammed, and budgets run dry, the Gripen E is the fighter that keeps flying. It's like comparing a supercar to a rally car. The F-35 owns the track. For Sweden, this wasn't about beating America, it was about proving a point. You don't need to be a superpower to build a super jet. Today, as wars evolve into information battles, where data, speed, and flexibility matter more than size, the Gripen's design philosophy feels prophetic. It's not the strongest or the stealthiest that survive. It's the smartest. Even US allies have started adopting Gripen-like doctrines: decentralized maintenance, data fusion networks, and modular design. In other words, Sweden's way. The small country that everyone ignored quietly rewrote the rules of modern air combat. Not with arrogance, but with elegance. Because while the F-35 is still fighting bugs in its software, the Gripen's pilots are updating theirs with a USB stick and flying again in 20 minutes. That's not just engineering. So the next time you hear about the world's most advanced jet, remember this story of a small nation that looked at the biggest, most expensive fighter on Earth and said, "Nice jet, but we'll do it better. Our way." And then they proved it. In a sky full of giants, one tiny jet just outsmarted them all. Sweden didn't build the fastest or the stealthiest.